Hey there, Wanderers. This is NowayArtemus, coming to you live from the Backrooms. Qsmodshop was kind enough to ask me to be part of a review video, so it's great to be here. I am an assistant game developer and YouTube content creator that was brought onto the Backrooms TCG team just a few months ago now. What got you interested in the project as a whole? Well, that's an excellent question. I've actually only been into the game since March of 2024, and it's only November. 8 months ago, I was just barely getting the game in the mail and trying to figure the mechanics out. Here's the short answer: mechanics. I've always had a love for card games, and more recently, starting around 2011, board games. The Backrooms TCG is kind of a hybrid in that sense, because technically, it's a card game, but the way that the field of play is mapped out makes it feel like a board game with its rigid structure and spatial elements. The movement system is incredibly unique. I've played 429 different games in the 8 years I've been tracking my plays of board and card games, and there's just nothing quite like the Backrooms TCG. When I first got into the game though, I had a very hard time understanding it, even with all the games I'd experienced up until that point. The aesthetic was also very attractive. I've always been a sucker for spooky media. I was hugely into Marble Hornets when it came out in 2009, which was the Slenderman series in my mind. I had also become enamored with House of Leaves around 2005, which honestly contains a lot of elements that I think would resonate with Backrooms fans too, in a story that's all about a house that's larger on the inside than the outside. It's a weird book, but just like the Backrooms, that's what makes it so memorable to me. It's just different. What do you think is the biggest contributing factor to the game's success so far? I think a big part of the success has been people's love of the Backrooms as a concept. People are fascinated by the unknown, and that's what the Backrooms is. The unending and unknown labyrinth. This game really manages to manifest this feeling of being trapped in that labyrinth and searching for some kind of escape or path forward. The gameplay itself is fantastic and very thematic, and I think, for the people who want to dig into it, there's just so much here to play around with and explore. The way that this game is set up, where you're building the deck that's going to be your challenger for the game, it's just fascinating. You have so much control over the construction of it, which means that there's tons of opportunity to show your creativity in how you build your deck. These decks can be reconstructed by other players, which means that you can experience some of the same things I'm experiencing if we play the same deck. I think that the Backrooms team has also done an awesome job of keeping in touch with the community, and have created a very welcoming atmosphere for any wanderer who comes no-clipping into the Discord. So many of us are just genuinely excited about the game and hearing other people's experiences with it. What was it like creating your own stories in established Backrooms lore? It's been an awesome experience being able to handcraft the story for the weekly challenge series that I've been running over the past 2 months. I was given a ton of freedom in how I want to put the story and challenges together, and I think it's been a really interesting experience to watch how players approach the challenges in their gameplay and in how they construct their decks. It's been very rewarding to hear the different stories that happen through each player's run. The lore of the Backrooms goes very deep, and this particular iteration of the Backrooms, as put together by the Backrooms TCG team, has its own interesting history and a number of well-established characters that you can meet in the Backrooms TCG digital comic. There are 2 volumes so far, and they follow the journey of a girl named Aaliyah that fell into the Backrooms and is searching for an exit. Fans of the Backrooms can find plenty of familiar entities and items. The story has some great twists and turns, and it was easy to find my own ways to branch off the already existing stuff in the game and the digital comic. There are also extra lore bits you can find on the official website of backroomstcg.com, which revolve around Mr. Freeman, who is like this super smart scholar that's an expert on the lobby levels. By exploring the Freeman files, you can actually learn a lot about certain characters and events that this first set is based around, and hints to future sets. How do you see the game evolving in the future? I think the development of the co-op and versus modes will be the biggest evolutions coming in the future. These are slated for release next year, so hopefully people can get excited to try wandering with a friend, or an enemy for the versus mode. Stay tuned for more info about those as it comes to light. I'd say that one of the most interesting evolutions that's already started has been the weekly challenge series. It shifted quite heavily over the last 3 seasons, both in execution and in terms of complexity. The challenges add a very interesting fold to the equation. The weekly challenge series basically tasks players with a list of specific challenge objectives to complete during a game, which range in difficulty from level 1 to level 4, with 1 being the easiest and 4 being very difficult. During a game, players complete as many challenges as they can in a single run and report back to the Backrooms TCG Discord to gain points which can be used towards discounts in the Backrooms store online. I loved the concept, and avidly played the game each week to complete the objectives. By the time the weekly challenge Season 2 started, I was actually helping run it, where I would gather challenges each week for the players to try their hand at. One of the biggest differences between Season 1 and Season 2 was that Season 1 was semi-random, always having between 3 to 5 challenges. For Season 2, I created a new structure for it that would give players a set number of challenges. We also introduced the idea of the community choice, where the Discord members would be able to vote on the 5th challenge of each week. I thought this would be a great way to bring the community in on it as well. For Season 3, I pivoted in a new direction, a heavily narrative direction. Now there's an overarching story that connects all 8 weeks of the challenge season into a cohesive story. Each week includes a story that sets the stage for the week's challenges, and also a segment to read once you enter the Golden Stairs and end your run. These end segments provide a further step into the narrative, and describe briefly a piece of story that will be continued in the following week. Each week has a unique assortment of challenges, and some weeks are a lot harder than others. What do you think is the biggest selling point of the game? I think one of the most interesting aspects about the Backrooms TCG is just how flexible the system is. The theme of the Backrooms is a huge selling point, as it's one that a lot of people are familiar with at this point. People love the eerie, uncanny nature of the Backrooms, and this game really hones in on those unsettling elements with the overall aesthetic and the gameplay as well. The Backrooms is all about surviving this random labyrinth, and this game really nails that feeling. You could call it a card-based roguelite RPG, and by adding on the challenges, you can alter the experience in profound ways that force you to think about the gameplay in a unique way. The deck building is an awesome aspect of the game, and still blows my mind that you have to piece together the deck that will both help and hurt you during the course of the run. The game mechanics, even on their own, are fascinating and unique. The game becomes more rewarding the more familiar you are with the mechanics and unique card interactions. When I first got into the Backrooms TCG, there was a small pool of challenge ideas people had come up with. They created these very interesting sets of restrictions to contend with or side quests to complete, and they created new dimensions to the gameplay. Not only was I looking for an escape, but I also had to keep track of 1 or 2 other things in order to call it a successful run. Once I started to get into it, I found my current deck a little too easy to beat, so I started to incorporate some of these challenges during my gameplay, and then started to come up with my own to create more complex playthroughs. When the weekly challenge series started, each week there would be an announcement with a list of challenges to complete. I would build a deck for the challenge and usually film myself making the run or take some pictures to show how things went down. So I was extremely happy to be able to take over running the weekly challenges for the 2nd season. By the 3rd season, I had a thought to break out in a more narrative-based direction, and I'm happy to report that this has been the most interesting season yet. Once players get their car park level cards in late November, we can all get acquainted with the new set, and then we can start Season 4 based around all the new cards. Basically, there's just so much life left in this engine that Gearsnakes has created. I am very excited for the new set coming out soon, and the eventual release of the Volume 3 of the digital comic, as well as the co-op and versus modes releasing next year. There's a lot on the horizon for sure, and the team is very excited to reveal more information as it becomes ready to share with the public. Oh, and then there's the Aquazone set. Oh no, I just heard a hound. Gotta go. This has been NowayArtemus, and I think I need to run now. Take care.